Once upon a time, there was a husband and a wife who longed to have a child. After many years of trying, the wife began to feel a swelling in her stomach. It was what they wanted more than anything in the world. Her belly began to grow, and eating for two meant she was always ravenous. She ate everything her husband brought home, and felt even hungrier afterwards. Her cravings were made worse by the sight of the beautiful walled garden their small house overlooked. Nobody ever went in the garden, because it was owned by a powerful witch. Not even the slugs or the cabbage moths dared to go there for fear of her. In the garden there was every fruit and vegetable you can imagine, but among them she spotted a bed of delicious lamb's lettuce, which in that time was called Rapunzel. Once the pregnant wife had seen it, she could think of nothing else, and every day, without the Rapunzel, worsened her cravings. She became physically ill with her longing for the salad. She stared at the patch of Rapunzel all day. She spoke of it in her sleep, and nothing her husband brought her in its stead would nourish her desire. He feared for her health, and the child she bore, so one night he climbed the high wall into the garden, crept over to the vegetable bed, and tore a bowlful of Rapunzel leaves. His wife was waiting at the door for him. She snatched the leaves off him, made them into a salad, and ate them straight away. She had never tasted anything as delicious, and she lay there for some time in a strange and contented way. But the Rapunzel gave her only brief respite from her cravings, and soon she wanted more than ever before. She begged and begged her husband until he gave in and once more climbed the wall of the garden. As he jumped down and turned from the wall, he saw the witch standing in front of him. The witch said, "You will pay for this." The husband begged for mercy and told her his pregnant wife was ill with longing for it. He feared she might die without it. "Ah," said the witch, "then take as much Rapunzel as you want, but in return you must give me your child. I will mother it and keep it safe." And so it was. His wife gorged on Rapunzel until she gave birth to a beautiful girl, and the witch appeared right away to claim her. "I name this child Rapunzel," the witch said, and took her away. Rapunzel grew up into the most beautiful girl. After 12 years in the walled garden, the witch took her away into a great forest. She lived in a chamber at the top of a tall tower which had no door or stairs into it. The only entrance to the chamber was a small window. When the witch wanted to come up to the chamber, she would shout, "Rapunzel, throw down your hair." Rapunzel had beautiful hair like finely spun gold. When she heard the witch, she untied her hair, wrapped it around the window hook, and let it down. Her hair swished all the way down to the witch far below, who climbed hand over hand up to the chamber. Rapunzel stayed in the tower for many years. To pass the long and lonely days, she would sing, and her voice was as golden as her hair. One day, the king's son was riding through the forest, and he heard the beautiful singing and followed it to the tower. He could hear her singing at the top of the tower, but could see no way of reaching her. He returned the next day, and as much as he searched, he could find no way into the tower. On the third day, he followed her birdsong to the tower. He was searching in vain for an entrance when he heard someone coming and hid behind a tree. The witch came and stood beneath the high window and called up, "Rapunzel, throw down your hair." He watched with amazement as the long hair tumbled and swished down from the high window, and the witch pulled herself up. So he waited until dark, and the witch came back down and had left. Then he stood as she had stood beneath the window and shouted, "Rapunzel, throw down your hair." The hair swished down, and the prince took its fragrant thickness and climbed up to the high chamber. When Rapunzel saw him, she was terrified. She had never seen a man, or anyone so handsome, and was confused and lost for words. But princes are never lost for words. He told her he could not rest until he found the singer, and she was every bit as beautiful as her voice. She agreed to let him visit. and the more he called up to her, the more excited she became. They fell in love, and when he asked for her hand in marriage, she said yes. The witch suspected nothing for some time, but one day Rapunzel said to her, "My clothes no longer fit. Every dress I have is too tight." The witch knew it could mean only one thing. The witch said, "You have a hidden lover, and now you have a child. For that deception, you will pay a terrible price." With some scissors, the witch grabbed Rapunzel and hacked off her golden hair. She transported Rapunzel with magic to a wild wasteland. There Rapunzel gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl, and there they lived poorly and nearly perished. The winters froze their limbs, and the summers scorched their skin. Rapunzel scrounged what little she could by singing to passers-by. The travellers kept moving, because it was a bleak place. Back at the high tower in the forest, the prince returned. He stood beneath the high window and called up, "Rapunzel, throw down your hair." The hair came tumbling and swishing down. He pulled up the hair, and when he climbed through the window, there was no Rapunzel but the witch waiting for him. She had knotted the hair around the window hook. The witch said, "So you're the snake beneath the sheets. Rapunzel's gone, and you shall never see her again." The witch charged at the prince so that he stumbled and fell back through the window. He fell and fell until he landed in a thorn bush. The thorns pierced both his eyes, so blind and heartbroken, he stumbled away. Unable to find his way back, he wandered the earth and lived as a beggar for many years. All that time, in the long cold nights and the endless days of hunger and thirst, he thought of Rapunzel. Then one day, he heard a beautiful song, carried faintly on the wind. He knew that golden voice, and he followed it to its source, where he heard two other voices, one of a girl and one of a boy. When Rapunzel saw the beggar coming towards her, she recognized the prince straight away. She ran out and hugged him, and the tears of joy that spilled into his eyes cured him of his blindness. He saw Rapunzel again, and his two beautiful children for the first time. They travelled back to his father's kingdom, where the king recognized them and welcomed them back, and they lived happily together to the end of their days.